Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Sinclair, and I'm here to present the Sun in Capricorn transit. So this is a monthly webinar series I'll be doing all year. So let's get right into it. Let me share my screen and put it on slideshow. Great. So today we're going to be talking about Sun's movement into Capricorn, and along with that, kind of give a preview into some of the major trends of 2020, which have started lining up end of last year, and we get more alignment starting this month. So this is me, and at the bottom you can see my email address. If you have any questions about this presentation, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'll be happy to answer them. We're doing this pre-recorded because of other conflicts with the team. But we'll be back next month. I'll be in India, so it'll also be recorded. And then in March, we'll begin with the live webinars. So I look forward to that again. So I'd like to thank you for viewing this, and that's supporting the American College of Vedic Astrology. I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have a newsletter, and we are a nonprofit organization, so any donations that you make are tax-free. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the solar year, Sun in Capricorn, the solar lunar axis, as we always do in these talks, and then we're going to get into the Panch Mahapurusha yogas, which dominate the major theme for 2020, and start getting a feel of how they're working. And then I fleshed out the sign-by-sign interpretation more to give you an idea of how I start to combine these things. So we'll go right into that. So when Sun moves into Capricorn, it's called the Makar Sankranti. Makara is the Sanskrit name for Capricorn. So when Sun, this celebration is very important in India. Historically, this used to coincide with the winter solstice, but as the Ayanamsha, as we know, a sidereal astrologer, shifts a little bit every year, it's now about 3 weeks later. So there's some confusion about this because it's at the Ayanamsha, it's at the solstice that the sun's move starts to move to the northerly direction. So our days start to get longer. However, the Makar Sankranti is one of the few holidays in many religious calendars that is set by the sun rather than the moon. So it's important to note that, especially since we're talking about Sun moving in there. And every 12 years, it's at the Makar Sankranti where we celebrate the Kumbh Mela in India, which is a huge gathering of people that come together at where the three holy rivers meet, the Ganga, the Saraswati, and the Yamuna river. They come together. So this is a very important holiday. But when the sun is moving in the northern hemisphere, when the days are getting longer, it's called the Day of the Gods. So that starts from when Sun enters Capricorn, and it ends when Sun enters Cancer. So this is a time of externalizing the energy, and basically what this signals is that we can start to move forward in our life and on our plans. Sun is in Capricorn from January 15th until February 13th of this year. Now, when Sun's in Capricorn, it's not necessarily a really natural fit, because the Sun at the beginning of the month, from until January 24th, he's in a neutral sign because the house lord is in the 12th from him. So there his energy is about, it's 37% negative. So it's not so bad. But when Saturn enters the sign on January 24th, then the Sun is considered to be in a great enemy sign, and it brings out more of his challenging qualities. Sun is a very sattvic planet, and Capricorn is a tamasic sign, so they have different motivations. Sun is part of the leadership class, the kings and rulers of the countries, and Capricorn is really a Vaishya sign, which is the commercial class. So it's kind of like if a big CEO comes to visit, like, uh, a self-employed person, it's just very different worlds are interacting. And the sun represents Dharma and Capricorn represents Artha. Now, Dharma is our purpose in life. It's the action we take to demonstrate our unique qualities that then work for the good of the community. And Artha is a recognition that in order, to maintain our life here, we have to have money, we have to interact with society, and we have to, meet our basic needs before we can go on and do other things. So this is the time where we start to look at, in light of what it is our higher calling can do, how are we supporting ourselves and maintaining our daily life? Are we doing this through ethical means? Is there some connectivity we can find between our higher purpose and our daily work? So these are issues we're going to explore a little bit in this section. For Capricorn rising, Sun is also the 8th lord of past life difficult karma. So this is a time when some things may be surfacing, especially for Capricorn rising or moon in Capricorn people. But so you can see it's not really a very natural fit. Now, the 3 nakshatras in Capricorn, the first one is Uttra Ashada, which goes up to 10 degrees. And this is the sign that has the power to grant an unchallengeable victory. And so it's also represented by the Vishva Devas, which is a comprehensive gathering of gods. So this is like the step that bridges from Sagittarius, where we start to move away from the material and into the more spiritual. Then we come into Capricorn, and that energy carries over. The first part of this is ruled by the sun. So this year it aligns very nicely that while the sun is in Capricorn, he's in the solar nakshatra for the first 10 degrees, and that's before Saturn arrives. So it's a good direction. It's a very productive time there. So this is a good time to really do some internal work and figure out what is it that really identify more aspects of how you can manifest your higher purpose in the world. Then from 10 degrees to 23 degrees, Sun is in Shravana. This is ruled by the moon. So again, we have the 2 luminaries here that the sun is moving through, and that can be very good. The power of connection is what Shravana is all about. So Shravana, this could be a step towards, once you understand what Uttarashada is telling you, you may think, how can I connect to other people in this? Because that's a key component to your Dharma. It's not only right action, but it's right action which has your unique qualities, and that how you are sharing them to help the community. So this is the second phase of the sign. And finally, we move into Dhanishta, and that's from 23 degrees, 20 minutes, up to 640 degrees of Aquarius. And this is ruled by Mars. And so this has the power to give abundance and fame. So you can see there's a little formula here in Capricorn. If you understand your Dharma in Uttarashada, if you connect to your higher soul, and then you can connect that to the moon and the public, then you can give abundance and fame. And so this gives kind of a little formula in Capricorn to how you can track the energies through the sign. So Sun in Capricorn calls us to seek balance between our ideal version of the world and the practical situation in which we find ourselves. This is, my understanding is that the sun is like limitless, and can be very idealistic. And, Dharma signs can be very pure in what they want. But then it doesn't really help people unless you can connect it to the real world. So Capricorn brings a practical element to it as well. So starting with a clear understanding of our present financial, career, health, and social situation, we can revise goals and behaviors to chart a course through the next 6 months. So this is a good time. This is why Capricorn can be important, because it's the day of the gods. It's going to last for the next 6 months. So it's a good time to set a few things, re-examine and reevaluate. And then you'll find your way forward. The beneficial use of the solar energy in Capricorn, I really stress finances. So identify your financial and donation goals for 2020, declutter your home and your work environments. It's interesting that this is the first of the year and many people start to prepare for taxes and things like that. You see what your income was last year and you're planning for the next year. So it's a very nice alignment of the sun's placement with the planetary energy. It can be very beneficial. The other aspect I like to stress is to develop a practice that you can maintain for the transit and do every day. And so this is a simple, Saturn likes to keep things simple, but he will give you discipline to follow through on this plan. So you might consider a mix of mantra, of meditation, breathing exercise, physical exercise, and spiritual study. All these things are really good. It's the winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, so getting that physical exercise in a little bit every day will help to maintain your mood, your energy, and your focus. The lunar cycle this year, this month, starts under the new moon on January 24th and at 10 degrees Capricorn. So that's right at the end, or that's actually right where Shravana begins. And then the full moon is on February 8th at 25 degrees of Cancer in the sign of Ashlesha. So we're going to dig into that a little bit and see. So the full moon in Cancer, Capricorn and Cancer are both Chara signs, and therefore this energy is supporting progress and change. So this is the key, that this is a time where we can make progress on many fronts. Cancer is the sign of our subconscious and the impulse to nurture ourselves and others. So this is in alignment with the kind of introverted aspects of Capricorn, where it's it's beginning to look outward, but it still has a inner focus on ourselves. Cancer is symbolized by a crab, which has 10 legs. And I read somewhere that represents the 5 senses and the 5 uses of the senses. So this is a standard part of Vedic astrology as we look at the 5 elements and how they match to the faculties of perception, the faculty of action, and then the primary sensation. So this has a very nice, this connects you back to Cancer as a very sensual sign, in that it's very sense-oriented. Cancer likes, food and company, and it's very in tune with these things. This is then, the area, the nakshatra that we're in is Ashlesha. So I was looking up Ashlesha, and it comes from the Sanskrit root shlish, I think is how you say that, which means to join, embrace, to tie, or connect. So it made me start thinking about the fact that the symbol of Ashlesha is a coiled snake. And I had never thought about that coiled element, but it's actually the part where we can really become wrapped up in our senses and our sense orientation. Because after Ashlesha, we move into Leo through Scorpio, which is the most materially involved signs. So this comes to the end of the cycle and we get wrapped up in all of these senses. And it's interesting because the snake is the symbol, and snakes are very powerful creatures in the Vedic thought. They have knowledge, secret knowledge, which is hidden. And they're very beautiful and they're very powerful. The thing to remember is that snakes only attack when they feel provoked. They just don't want to be bothered most of the time, and it's kind of a step into a different occult world. So the fact that the full moon is happening there is a very interesting thing, because it ties back into the practical earth elements of Capricorn, and we go a little step beyond into understanding the deeper elements there through this full moon in Cancer. Now, the moon in Ashlesha can connect one to the snake realm, which can bring deep insights and also troubling thoughts that are difficult to understand. You kind of get some of this occult information maybe coming through. Sun is in Dhanishta, which is ruled by Mars, and it gives the power of abundance and fame, as we said, but it's also ruled by the 8 Vasus. Now, the 8 Vasus represent earth, air, fire, water, ether, sun, and moon. And then the last one is Dhruva, which is the center fixed point at the top of the solar system. So it's motionlessness. So it's a very interesting thing because I think that motionlessness is kind of a gateway into that occult Sarpa world that we have access to. So we start to get that this is a time, this full moon can be very mystical, and it could bring in some very interesting information and insights about yourself and your attachment or lack of attention to the senses. Mars moves into Sagittarius during this full moon. So this is quite interesting because that places Mars sixth from the moon, and he's just past the Gandanta point when the moon happens. And then he's also 12th from the sun. So this could bring up some challenging issues, and it can also indicate unexpected losses or aggression, because that's how Mars tends to act. You know, so when he's moving into a sign, he's coming in right on the same day as the full moon. So it'd be interesting to watch and see. If you don't keep a mood journal, it could be very helpful to just note down what happens that day. Are you feeling the pressure, kind of anger, unexpected stuff, in more impatience, frustration, or are you seeing it among others? So it's quite an interesting time to look at. But you know, my advice would be don't overschedule right around the full moon, which is on February 8th. Here's what the chart looks like for the new moon. And you see that technically here, the moon is at 25 degrees and it's Kimadruma. There's no planets on either side. And so this could also mean that the downside is you may feel isolated. There could be some depression, especially if Mars can bring out depression within you. We often say that depression is a sign of anger turned inwards. So this could be. The other thing is, though, about the moon is it may give you some very independent ideas. So this may be a time where you get some inspiration. With these energies, I don't want to stress the negative too much because you may really get some insight which leads you to next steps as to what's going on in your life and what the next step for you is. So the lessons of the full moon that I thought of is, first of all, that Sun is in Dhanishta, ruled by the 8 Vasus, which are all the elements plus the sun, moon, and that point of stillness. And moon is in a sign which is closely tied to all 5 senses and their proper usage. We need to embrace our internal and external experiences in order to create a balanced foundation to experience the world. I would say that it's important to be in the world to enact positive change, but avoid being of the world and getting lost in the illusion. So we do see the balance here is somewhat echoing what the balance of the sun is in Capricorn. You want to balance your higher ideas with the practical ideas. And here you want to maintain your mental sphere, that you're in the world to enact positive change, but you don't get too swallowed up in it and lost in the delusion. So let's talk a bit about the other transits that are going to be coming up. And this we step into really what's happening in 2020. So the Panch Mahapurusha Yogas are occurring this month for Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus. So there's 5 planets that give this particular yoga. And we form the yoga, we recognize it by when we see one of these planets or Mercury. So Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, the 5 planets there that are in their own sign or an exalted sign. And they're in an angle, the 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th house from either the Lagna or the moon. So this puts these planets in a very strong position and in a very strong house so that they give specific results. And we're going to talk about those now. So we can see here, this is the scan of the month where all the planets are every day. So we can see here on January 24th, we have the new moon in Capricorn, and that is the day actually that Saturn goes into Capricorn. So we're in this very interesting time where some of the major shifts are happening right on the new moon and the full moon. So you can see that that's lining up as Saturn goes in, it's a new moon. So there's some alignment there in Capricorn. And then if we look at February 8th, that's where the full moon occurs. And you see, if you go down to the Mars row, that this is when Mars enters Sagittarius and is in the nakshatra of Mula. So you can see the blue planetary lines. We have 4 Panchmahapurusha yogas that are occurring this month. Now, as I said, they don't occur for everyone. They only occur for specific rising signs, because it has to be in the 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th house. So let's look at those and see what's going on. These are important to start to study because many of these will last throughout the year, and some of them will come and go in different signs. So for the Chara signs this month, Saturn enters Capricorn on January 24th, and he forms a Shasha Yoga, which for people with your Lagna or your moon in Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. That should be or, not and. So any of those 4 signs, if your Lagna's there or your moon's there, that means that Saturn will be moving into one of the 4 Kendra houses. So, and this lasts up until April 29th, 2020. So if this is in your chart, it's time to sit down and really plan like what's going on and be very observant for what area of life is going to be really deeply developed. Saturn always gives deep development whenever it moves through a sign, but the fact that he's in a strong house and in an angle in your chart, this gives a deeper insight as to where really some of the karma is going to be maturing. So it is said that when Saturn gives Sasha Yoga, it creates a commanding personality who will champion unfashionable causes and is not interested in popularity. So this can be a very mission-driven type energy. So wherever this is, you may see this begin to emerge in your chart. This energy makes you able to shoulder responsibility, unafraid of facing karmic debts. And Sasha means to teach, to rule, to govern, or to command. So basically, this is a very strong energy, and it may help you give focus on really what you should move forward in. Now, unfashionable causes and the lack of interest in popularity, really, this is where you can align to your dharma. It may not be popular, people may not like it, or they may be uncomfortable with it, but you will find the strength or the desire to really express what you feel to be the highest vibration in these areas. And the sign by sign, I'll start to give you a flavor of how each of the signs, where this lies and how it might manifest. So the Panchmahapurusha Yoga for fixed signs, Sthira signs, is Mars is in Ruchaka Yoga for anyone with a Lagna or a moon in Taurus, in Leo, in Scorpio, or Aquarius. Now this started December 25th and will last until February 7th in 2020. Again, so Mars moved into this Scorpio on December 25th, which is when we had the total solar eclipse. And then he'll be moving into this next sign also on a lunar, on the new moon. So we're seeing this moon kind of Mars connection with a move, which I just haven't really had time to think deeply about, but I invite you to look at it and see how that could be manifesting. So the characteristics of Mars and Ruchaka Yoga is that it awakens action, ambition, and gives you the ability to achieve. It gives great energy. All the fundamental characteristics of Mars are highlighted. It indicates a very powerful person who shines so brightly that others are in awe of their splendor. So this means this is really going to give a focus, a spotlight to wherever this is falling in your chart. The Panchmahapurusha yogas for the mutable signs, the Dvishvabhava signs, Venus is exalted in Pisces from February 2nd until February 28th, and it's forming what we call Malavya Yoga for Lagna and moons in Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So this, the Malavya Yoga of Venus gives a person with the ability to attract people, or they're very attractive, beauty, charm, and wealth. Now, the caveat I always remember about Venus is that it can give material success, but not necessarily happiness. So you may get everything you want, but it may not make you happy. This energy also helps you, creates popularity, fame, and spiritual knowledge used to enhance material gain. So this is the answer to this, material success but not happy. You need to, if you pursue spiritual knowledge that is in alignment with your dharma, what you can uniquely offer the world, then this will bring you happiness. But if you just go after just, blank materialism, it's not going to pay off in the way that you ultimately would want it to. The second yoga that's forming is the Jupiter is in Sagittarius, and he's forming Hamsa Yoga. Now, this started in November, and so this is also for the Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces Lagna or Moon. And this will go on until March 29th. Then Jupiter moves over into Capricorn and starts to retrograde back. He comes back into Sagittarius on June 30th and stays there through November 20th. So most of the year, this particular yoga will be active. And the Hamsa Yoga indicates an exalted soul who wants to impart wisdom and knowledge to others without material gain. So this is really the highest vibration of Jupiter. This promotes energy that is ethical, truthful, able to influence people in positions of power. Now, these are people who have a keen grasp of both the manifest and unmanifest dynamics in any situation, and they can be impartial and wise. So it's interesting that the two yogis are both, in February, they will both be in their strongest signs. So this creates a powerful time for you to do spiritual work and spiritual support. So something to think about. Ketu is also seated in Sagittarius, and he'll be there all year until September 22nd, 2020. So Ketu is moksha karaka. It indicates the highest need or desire for liberation. So with Jupiter there, the nodes tend to support the agendas of the planets they're with. So this Ketu may also help you. So you have a kind of a really powerful three-part, three yogas coming together to show that this could be a time for good spiritual advancement, especially for people with Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, either Lagna or Moon. So let's get to the sign by sign. What I like to do, the reason I do these talks for the Aqua College differently, because I give you a little more of the nuts and bolts behind it. Most of this audience are astrologers, so I offer this to you as some initial thoughts, but the power of astrology is each of you will synthesize it and come up with your own indications for each chart that you're looking at. So I just offer you as a way that I'm trying to put these together, but this is by no means like predictions or the end-all be-all. It's a jumping off point for you to start practice and improve synthesizing different factors. So here we go. So if the moon or lagna are in Aries, which is the natural zodiac, so it also applies to everyone in general, this is the time to use the Sasha Yoga in your 10th house to pursue your passion projects. So think about what it is you've always wanted to do. This is your dharma, things that you feel naturally drawn towards and aligned to. This is your dharma, the sun's there. And then start thinking about the artha implications, not the money necessarily, but how can you implement this into your life? Sun is also in the 10th, and it gains additional strength as he's Digbala, so even a better time to explore these ideas. 10th house is in a karma house, so this is time to reevaluate your financial and time commitments, all your resources. Really take a moment and pause. You only have so many hours in the day. How do you use them to further your development? Are you meditating? Are you watching TV? What's going on? This is a good time to just rebalance those things. Taurus, the Ruchika Yoga from Mars is in Scorpio. It's placed in your 7th house until February 7th. This can give you strength and energy to refine and develop the partnerships in your life. To make progress, you must assess what you are contributing and focus on improving yourself rather than identifying faults in your partner. So this is the core idea of Mars. It's very easy to see the faults in others, but it's when you start to see how you are contributing to a situation that's bothering you. Mars's true strength is the internal fire which purifies our own thoughts, actions, and words. So Sun in the ninth house will bring past life good fortune and may bring a teacher or mentor to guide you forward. Venus in exaltation from the 2nd to 28th of February would give additional insight and energy. So especially for Taurians, this is your, plan a very special Valentine's Day, because you're going to have the Venus there. So it's a time to work with your partner and to balance out what's going on, maybe to connect, to rekindle it. And, Taurus likes a little luxury. So give yourself a treat and give your partner a treat and spend time reconnecting. Gemini. This dual nature Gemini has a rare transit of two Panchmahapurusha yogas. Venus and Jupiter are bringing exceptional opportunities for advanced study and connection with teachers and mentors. Jupiter seated in the 7th and Venus seated in the 10th will bring career development. So that's, very beneficial. This is the time to take a deep look at how you are perceived by others. Sun is seated in the 8th, so unexpected events may arise which are challenging. Fortunately, while Sun gives issues, Jupiter and Venus are there to give guidance. We just have to remember to ask for help. So, Cancer, this is the home of the full moon where it takes place. You will experience these effects more than others. Saturn Sasha Yoga starts January 24th and is seated in your 7th house. That may give opportunities to step outside your comfort zone regarding your intimate and business relationships. So this is a nice way of putting there can be some stress going on there. But if you phrase it as looking into your stepping outside your comfort zone, it helps you to see this as a challenge and an opportunity for growth. Sun, also transiting the 7th house, can help refine the sense of balance and responsibilities in these relationships. Don't overcommit on Saturdays, as it's a good day to eat simply and reflect on the higher goals. This is good for everyone because Saturn, when he's strong like this, it's nice to align this, but especially if he's in a key house in your chart. For Leo, use this time up to February 7th to focus on the Ruchaka energy into home projects. Fix all those little things that have been left unattended during the holidays. Also, clean out the clutter and you'll find more at ease. It's amazing how that will help clear your mind as well. Sun in the 6th can bring some anxiety, especially as Saturn moves into the sign. It's important to establish a healthy daily routine around sleep, food, relaxation, and boundaries at work. Saturn is settling in for the long haul, and a simple routine will help you stay the course. For Virgo, Virgo gives the benefit of Jupiter and Venus, Panchmahapurusha yogas, in the 4th and the 7th houses, respectively. Take time to explore what makes you truly happy and satisfied. You cannot follow your bliss until you've identified your bliss. This is a key thing. Start with figuring out what it is you want to do, and then you'll know how to follow it. Then you figure out how to spend some time doing what revitalizes you. Sun is transiting the 5th house of creativity and legacy, and is asking how you want to use your time to share yourself with others. This will give you a lot of creative ideas about how to switch up your life and integrate it. Libra has Saturn Sasha Yoga seated in the 4th house, which may indicate that this is time when unsettled difficult issues with home life and your mother may surface. Saturn gives the focus and persistence to move towards resolution on these issues. Sun in the 4th will bring intense focus on these issues, which represent the sense of power and imbalance. So this is a good time, especially with Mars kind of activating the lunar cycle. You may get some information that's troubling. But remember, you're in a long, Saturn's going to be there for a couple of years, so you don't have to solve it immediately. You can take it as it comes and as it develops and seek really deep resolution to these ideas. Scorpio has Mars's Ruchika Yoga in the first house, which energizes the whole chart. Sun seated in the third house can give the opportunity to step forward and undertake new challenges. The best use of Mars's energy is to concentrate on self-purification and improvement. Exalted Venus in the fifth may provide insights into other creative opportunities. Sagittarius has Jupiter's Hamsa Yoga in the first house and Venus's Malavya Yoga in the fourth house. This combination indicates that you will be weighing the balance between material happiness and the pain of attachment to material things. Let's remember that's really the conundrum with attachment. There's nothing wrong except that it is that attachment brings suffering and pain. So you'll be looking at those two things. Venus gives more of the attachment, Jupiter gives more of the neutral, the ability to detach effortlessly. We must find a balance and not look for satisfaction in the impermanent world. Instead, cultivate connection to the eternal. That's the big lesson here. And Sagittarius, this is right on brand with what you do. That's the core impulse anyway. Sun is in the second house. It will bring focus to our daily work and also lessons from your childhood and family. So all those second house issues may be coming to light. Capricorn has the Sun and Saturn in the first house. This may create a feeling of unease and tension until the Sun moves into Aquarius. Saturn as Lagna Lord will deliver good results eventually, and that's the key, is eventually. As the first house is the weakest house for Saturn, this house placement may delay the results of Sasha Yoga even more than expected. As with everything Saturn, this is an ongoing masterclass in patience and persistence. Just breathe your way through it, and Saturn can really take you to really wonderful places, but you really do the work first, and then the reward comes. Aquarius has Mars Ruchika Yoga in the 10th house, which indicates the potential that you can be recognized for your work and contributions to the world. Sun is placed in the 12th house of debts. So any accolades that may come should be reinvested in your future development. Use this energy to increase your ability to serve others. Sun is in his weakest sign, so internalizing this attention may have unwelcome repercussions. Remember, the Sun has to shine. If you try to hang on to the solar energy, it promotes your ego and it burns you up. Pisces has Jupiter Hamsa Yoga in the 10th and Venus's Malavya Yoga in the 1st. This can indicate a good time for material gain and recognition among peers. Sun in Capricorn in the 11th can also bring the fruits of your labor. The best investment you can make in this time is your spiritual development. You can access guidance from other realms during this time as well. Pay attention to your dreams and wishes as they may be pointing out your next steps. Studying sacred scripture can help you gain even further insight. So those are my thoughts on Saturn going through Capricorn. Please email me if you have questions, and I would like to thank you very much for joining me today.